Now, do people contact you? Do they read your book and then send you emails or fan mail or try to get in touch with you to say, oh my God, and we're there, or have information that the media hasn't put out or something that was suppressed?
Yes, and it's funny because 2 women came to me with a story about how the route was changed 5 minutes before Kennedy left the stage. And of course I knew about it because it was in the files, but they didn't know because no one's ever talked about it.
Yeah.
And so they were very nervous to talk because all the witnesses were told there's a judge order that you can't talk to the media or anybody about this case. And the implication was ever, but really it was only until the trial was done.
Welcome back to another episode of Rendezvous with Alysia. Today, I'm going to tell you guys this true story. I woke up at 5:30 this morning. I slept in a little late, but the excitement had me jumping right out of bed. I couldn't wait to have Lisa Pease on the show. Now, listen to this. Lisa has written this book, A Lie Too Big to Fail. Lisa is not in the FBI. She is not with the police department. She is not a politician. She was never into politics, never ran for Congress, nothing. But she has broken bread, sat with the Kennedy family. She woke up one morning and decided that she was going to solve this mystery, that she was going to write this book. And I am here to grill her all about her book about the assassination of Robert F. Kennedy. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you for that introduction.
You are probably one of the happiest, most jovial people I have met in the past probably 5 years.
Wow.
I love your spirit. I love your enthusiasm. And I love that you're sitting here with me on Rendezvous with Alysia. Let's talk all about this. We're just going to jump into it now. All right. You're not a police officer, never worked with the FBI. You never did anything political. How did this book come about?
Well, I did do something political in that I worked on presidential campaigns.
Oh, you did? Okay,
so I've
that's
always
something I
cared
did about.
about politics.
Yeah.
But it was kind of a fluke. I got into the JFK assassination before the RFK assassination.
Oh, my God.
And I picked up some books at a garage sale. I'm like, wow, could this be true? I didn't know anything about this history. So it took a little while to get started. And then I was working right near the downtown Central Library.
Yeah.
And so on my lunch hour, I would just run over and read.
Now that's in California?
Isn't that what everybody does on their lunch hour?
Yeah, exactly. Now that's California, right?
California,
Okay,
Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And one day I was looking for something related to the John Kennedy case, but I pulled out the drawer and realized right away I found the Los Angeles Police Department files on microfilm. And I knew they'd only been out for 4 years when I first started looking at them. And I knew there were only like a handful of books, all of which I read.
Yeah.
There were like 5 or 6 books at that point, and there's still only like 2 more since then, or 3 more. And so I read all the books. I started looking at the files, and immediately they told a completely different story. We were always told that Sirhan was the only one seen with a gun. Well, there were like 21 reels. They weren't marked, so I just like pulled out reel 5 at random and threw it in, and it talked about a second guy arrested there that night, or at least apprehended and taken for questioning.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? How have I never heard this story? And then I started reading about other things. And then I found out that Sirhan was literally facing Robert Kennedy when he was firing at him. But Robert Kennedy was only shot from behind. And I mean, it's incontrovertible. There are dozens of witnesses who saw Sirhan facing Kennedy. There are 4 people who saw them both at the time of the shooting and put them face to face. And they put Sirhan's gun muzzle consistently 3 feet in front of Kennedy, and yet he was shot from an inch behind the right ear. So obviously there's more to the story, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I started really digging in, and it's like, how could they tell such a big lie?
Exactly.
And why? It's like, were the police in on it? And I really don't believe the police were in on it. I think they were eager to cover it up because once they had one guy and people had seen him fire a gun.
Exactly.
So it's like, let's just shut this down. We got one guy. That's enough. And anybody else who told the police they saw a shooter closer or behind him, they told the witness they saw Sirhan. But it's clear they didn't. And sometimes people described a man with a gun who was very tall in a bright blue suit. Well, Sirhan was very short. Another guy.
Makes no sense.
Yeah, another guy had a beard and was running a gun out of the pantry. Well, Sirhan never had a beard. So it's a fascinating story and a heartbreaking one too, because the more I looked into it, I started looking at CIA assassinations.
Yeah.
Because who has the power to tell such big lies on a national scale that don't get exposed?
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and even the LA police wouldn't control the national media, and the national media was helping to cover up. But I knew, and from the first book I ever read, which was Plausible Denial, which opened with a CIA asset who had written about Oswald before the assassination
Right.
in the newspaper, and she had interviewed him when he went to Russia. And I'm like, oh, my God, that makes so much sense. If the CIA killed the Kennedys, they could cover it up with all their media.
Right, exactly.
And it's like a light bulb went off. And so I spent a lot of time looking into the media angle. And there was one guy who wrote a key article at a key point in the Robert Kennedy case that kind of shut down an avenue toward conspiracy. And it turned out later he's a CIA asset. So what a surprise. Right?
Exactly. Now, what baffles my brain is how we opened up the show. Like, you would just go on your lunch break to the library and start research. So this information.
I was just bored. I was literally bored. And I started looking into stuff. And it's funny because a lot of people got involved around the same time I did because of Oliver Stone's film JFK.
Yes.
I never saw it.
Oh, you never
I was busy working on Jerry Brown's presidential campaign. So, I've seen it now, but I didn't see it when it first came out. Because I picked up that book at the garage sale, my first internet search ever, the first time I got on, I searched JFK assassination. And I found a news group that was hotly debating it.
Yeah.
And, again, as I dug into the JFK case, I kept wondering about his brother. It's like, well, if they killed JFK, then the same people would have killed his brother to keep him from becoming president and uncovering what happened to John Kennedy.
Okay.
And so it became clear to me fairly early on that the CIA had to be involved. But now, after 30 years, it's like I could name some specific names of the CIA, all dead.
Right.
But James Angleton, he ran the counterintelligence unit in CIA for about 25 years before he was fired. It was very difficult to fire him because he was super powerful. And some of his coworkers in their own testimony I would go into him fingering my insurance policy. They were afraid of being killed by this guy. And he shows up in both stories. He had a file on Oswald 5 years before he killed, which I don't think he did, but 5 years before the JFK case. And then when the RFK case happened, I found this in the newly released files because Trump's team just released a bunch of new files. And in the new files, it's clear now that the CIA kind of pushed its way into the LAPD investigation.
Wow.
And, they said, oh, we can help you. And the LAPD's like, we think we're good. We don't think we need your help. CIA took it over, and it was the same guy, James Angleton, who insisted on being the liaison point for all the records.
Yeah.
And what makes it interesting is there's a lot of evidence that Sirhan was in a hypnotic state. And people who don't know hypnosis will think that's crazy and silly. And I even had somebody say to me, I don't believe in astrology. It's like, this is like science. This isn't astrology, This is very solid. The CIA had done decades of work and research, and Angleton had used hypnosis in some of his operations. So I thought that was really interesting that he would be involved. And ultimately, I found a guy named Robert Mayhew, who had at one point been Howard Hughes's public face to the world.
Okay.
Because Hughes was, recluse, didn't want to speak.
Yep.
He hired Mayhew to speak for him. But Mayhew was a longtime CIA asset, if you will. He was never a formal employee, but they paid him to kill Castro. He was the guy running the Castro plots. And you wouldn't pick a guy like that to run a plot against the head of state unless he had other successful assassinations under his belt.
That's true. Yeah.
And so he shows up in this case in a number of ways. In fact, when Robert Kennedy was facing Sirhan, holding his elbow on this side, the right side, was a guard named Thane Eugene Caesar. Caesar worked for Mayhew and Hughes, but he also, a week before had signed up to moonlight for this guard service that was pulled in addition to the normal guard staff at the Ambassador Hotel because they expected extra large crowds and they asked for extra security. And so, yeah, he had only joined like May 25th. That's like a week and a half before the shooting went down. And there's one witness who's certain he saw Thane Caesar fire his gun.
Right.
And again, Caesar is behind him to the right and at close contact range.
Gotcha.
He might have shot him. There were also 2 credible witnesses who saw a guy in a white busboy uniform walk up and hit, they both thought he shot him in the head. Well, that wasn't Sirhan. He wasn't a busboy. He didn't work there. He was in blue velour zip-up shirt and dingy jeans that other witnesses commented on. Like he looked slovenly, like not in keeping with the rest of the crowd. But one of the witnesses to the white busboy was the wife of George. Oh, I'm going to forget his last name. He's a famous photographer and a writer and a friend of the Kennedy family, but he was also a CIA asset.
Yeah.
But it was his wife who saw this, and she's a very credible witness. But again, she was confused because she's like, I was told it was Sirhan, but I can't quite reconcile that with what I saw.
Exactly.
But it must have been Sirhan.
Right.
Because that's how it works.
Now, Lisa, you spent your lunch breaks going back and forth to the library. Instead of going on Pinterest, like me on my lunch breaks, I'm RV parks. I want to travel to Utah. You wrote a book. How long did it take you to gather all this information? Now, from getting the information, you got information that everybody in the world or everybody in California had access to.
Yes, exactly.
Now, after you wrote this book, is all that public information?
Yes, it's all public.
It's still there.
Yes.
So other people have access
And
to
not
this
only
private.
that, but before it was only on microfilm, so you had to go to the library to see it. But it was all digitized many years ago and put online. There's a site called maryferrell.org. It's FERRELL.org, where you can browse the documents the same way I did. And good luck figuring out how they're organized. I did finally figure it out. There is a system there.
Now, how long did it take you to gather the information? And then once you got the information, you actually sat with the Kennedy family, correct?
Well, I sat with Robert Kennedy Jr.
Robert Kennedy Jr., right.
And so it took me about 20 years to gather the information.
Wow.
Before I felt like I knew enough to start writing. And then I didn't feel I had solved it enough. So I'd kind of stop and start and stop. And then I got some more information. And then somebody else was writing a book. And I'm like, great, I don't have to write this book because I never wanted to write a book. I didn't. But when this other guy's book came out, it didn't talk about any of the stuff that I thought was critical. I'm like, damn it. I'm going to have to.
Oh, please, don't tell me off. I've heard so much worse over here.
I'm going to have to write this book. So I kind of sat my seat, and it was probably 4 years of concerted effort. I would do it before I went to work. I would do it on my lunch break, and I would do it after work. I had no life at all. No dating, no nothing, and it's the more I got into it and the more I got into a flow, the more interesting it was for me.
Yeah.
And it was very challenging to try and structure it because I had so much to cover.
Now tell us about when you sat down with RFK Jr.
So Bobby, a mutual friend, David Talbot, who'd written his own book on the JFK assassination and had touched on the RFK assassination, he called me up one day because he was trying to talk Bobby out of something that that we all knew in the research community was a lie, but Bobby didn't know it was a lie. He's like, Lisa, how can I talk him out of this? I'm like, well, give him to me. I'd love to talk to him. And so he had him call me, and it happened to be a subject that I knew and I could explain.
Yeah.
And at the end of the call, I said, and by the way, I know your dad didn't try to kill Castro, because that's longstanding disinformation that's been put out for years. He's like, I know that too. I went and talked to Castro about this because he's Bobby Kennedy Jr. He can do that,
Of course
right?
he can.
There's
Of
a
course
pop
he can.
over and talk to Castro. But anyway, he invited me to his home, and, I kind of told him what I thought happened. And then he started having me back because he was writing his own memoir at the time. And there was originally going to be 2 chapters, one on the JFK assassination and one on the RFK assassination. So he's like, hey, do you have this book? Bring it over. Let's work on this.
Sure.
And one of those sessions, he made a meal for me. He actually made me a steak dinner.
Nice.
His wife had stepped out, and he's like looking in the fridge. He's like, do you like steak? I'm like, I love steak. And he was a really good cook, let me tell you.
Nice. Very nice.
He boiled the perfect corn on the cob. And it's funny, I was praising his corn on the cob when his wife came back, and he's like, what about my grilled onions? He's a funny guy and a charming guy.
Yeah.
I have disagreements with him on several issues, but I know his heart is in the right place.
Yes, yeah.
And of course, I have immense sympathy for the entire family for what they went through.
Yeah.
And when they lost JFK, that meant that, all of JFK's children were fatherless.
I know.
And so Ted Kennedy kind of took them in. And then when Bobby, there were 11 children. The last one was, Ethel was pregnant with her at the time, so she never even got to meet her father.
Oh, sad.
And I met her briefly once at a screening of a wonderful film she had done. And as soon as I mentioned her father, you could just see the pain and the grief in her face.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for her. But, yeah.
What was the hardest part about writing the book?
Sitting in a chair. Seriously, it's like all I wanted, especially a lot of what I was reading was making me very angry. And I would pop up and kind of stop around for a while.
What was making you angry? That nobody else had talked about this, or that the media was complicit in hiding stuff, or
all
the
of the
CIA?
above.
Okay.
Especially, there was one witness. Her name was Sandy Serrano, and she was sitting on the back steps of the Ambassador Hotel when Kennedy was giving his acceptance speech, which was on TV and stuff. And she was out back, and 3 people walked up the fire escape past her, stepped over her. And then about 15 minutes later, 2 of the 3 came running back out. And she remembered them because the girl had a dress just like a friend of hers had bought. It was a white dress with dark polka dots. And as the girl and the guy were running out, she was saying, we shot him. And Sandy's sitting there. She goes, who did you shoot? She said, Senator Kennedy, kind of like, ha, 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 like we did it. And Sandy was, horrified. Anyway, she told her story to the police. Of course, this was terribly inconvenient because now this means there's 2 other suspects. And they did put out an APB for those other 2 people for a while. And then, interestingly enough, they dropped the guy almost immediately, but kept looking for the girl in the polka dot dress because in the files, I have at least 21 people who saw that girl. And very specific. She had a turned up ski slope nose and kind of everybody commented on her curvy figure, and her face, not so pretty, but evidently her body was really pretty.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
She really stood out to people. And, some people anyway, the way the police treated her was just horrible. Sandy, you didn't hear what you said. If you love the Kennedys, you're not going to say it was a conspiracy. You have to retract
this. Totally X'd her out of the whole thing.
Exactly. They took her out to dinner. This one guy who had ties to the CIA, what a surprise, took her out to dinner with her aunt. And then after he got them warm and cozy, and of course she was underage, but he let her have wine, soften her up a bit. 10 p.m. he takes her to the station and asks the aunt to wait outside while he puts Sandy on a lie detector. And Sandy's like, the whole reason I brought my aunt was to protect me. And the aunt's just like, she trusts the cop. Yeah, go ahead. So Sandy's in the room there for like an hour and a half.
Wow.
And he runs like this little program script trying to get her to change her story, and she doesn't. And he does it a second time, and she's still holding strong.
Wow.
But by the third time, she's realizing, I'm never getting out of here tonight until I tell him what he wants to hear.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what should I say? What do you want me to say? He's like, no, it has to be your words. You have to say it. And I'm like, this is so cruel.
That is cruel to a minor, to do that to a minor. I
mean,
can't.
she's 20.
So they never found the girl in the polka dot dress?
No. And various people over the years have been identified. And people say, this is the girl. And I can't tell you how many people have called me. And I would always listen. And they'd go on for an hour about why they thought it was the girl in the polka dot dress. And I wasn't convinced by any of them. They weren't even close to being interesting. So I've stopped listening to people. It's like, if you're sure, go write an article and maybe I'll read it.
Yeah. Now, do people contact you? Do they read your book and then send you emails or fan mail or try to get in touch with you to say, oh my God, and we're there, or have information that the media hasn't put out or something that was suppressed?
Yes. And it's funny because 2 women came to me with a story about how the route was changed 5 minutes before Kennedy left the stage. And of course, I knew about it because it was in the files, but they didn't know because no one's ever talked about it.
Yeah.
And so they were very nervous to talk because all the witnesses were told, there's a judge order that you can't talk to the media or anybody about this case. And the implication was ever, but really it was only until the trial was done. But they weren't told that.
Gotcha.
They used that as a way to completely silence witnesses. I found a guy who'd been 13 years old who had seen the shooter step out from behind a partition, and there was a space between a big ice machine and a partition in the pantry where somebody could hide. And there's even video as Kennedy is going out to speak his acceptance speech. He went out the same way he came back. And there's a guy in a white busboy uniform standing in that space who turns his face as soon as the camera comes by. And that's where this young witness saw a guy step out and shoot Kennedy in the head.
Wow.
He also said there were shots coming from a downward angle. Sirhan was a short guy. He's 5'4". But there was 4 other witnesses who saw somebody standing on the table firing down into the crowd. I believe from my research, Sirhan was firing blanks. So others had to fire from his direction to make it look like he was firing bullets.
Wow.
Others who were probably not hypnotized, who could be very careful and accurate with their shots.
So, Lisa, how does somebody get this book? I mean, this story is so compelling. How do we get this book?
Oh, you can find it in Amazon has it, of course. BarnesandNoble.com has it. Any of your favorite bookstores, if you go in there and say you want this book, they'll just order it for you and let you know when it's ready.
Now, how did you find the guy to write the intro?
Oh, Jim D'Eugenio.
Yeah.
He and I had been together. We had dated for a while.
Oh.
When he had written a book called Destiny Betrayed that was so good. And I went to see him speak, and he was so funny. And I'm like, oh, my God, this guy is so entertaining, and his book is so good. It'd be fun to hang out with him. And so we did. Yeah, because he was in the L.A. area, and I was in the L.A. area. And we ended up doing a magazine together for years called Pro Magazine. And there's actually a separate book called The Assassinations, JFK, MLK, RFK, and Malcolm X.
Oh, wow.
And it's kind of a bit of a best of probe articles, even though we don't like to say that because some of our favorite articles didn't make it in the mix for various reasons.
Yeah.
So anyway, And then he went on to meet Oliver Stone and worked with him on his documentaries and got me into Oliver Stone's documentary, which was fantastic. Oliver already knew me, but Jim was, the glue that kind of brought it all together. So then he wrote this intro. I wanted him to write it because I knew he understood this history so well.
Yeah. Now, if you have one paragraph, sentence, a couple few words that you want to give the readers of your book.
Oh, my gosh.
Something to tell them, like why they have to. If they haven't read it yet, why they have to read this book. Or if they've read it, is there a sequel coming?
How funny.
Fill us in on this stuff, Lisa.
Well, first of all, I really think this is essential history. You really won't find this anywhere else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's not just about the RFK case. It's about how the CIA controls our world as we know it through the media, through various mechanisms, through mind control of individuals and mass mind control
I
programs.
believe that, yeah.
Yes. And I think the book is empowering. The people who've read it are like, they tell me they feel empowered to go do something about it. So it's not just a depressing, oh my God, the world's terrible sort of book. It's here's what you can do to make a difference sort of book.
Yeah.
So I hope more people want to make a difference,
I
because
think
it's going to
they
take
will.
all of us.
Yeah, no, is there going to be a sequel or no?
There may be, because with all the new files coming out, there are some interesting pieces.
Okay.
I don't know if I will do it as a book, if I'll put it out as a podcast, a series of articles, but I definitely have more to say on this subject.
Yeah,
Let's
now,
put it that way.
Speaking of podcast, that is something that's in your future.
Maybe.
So hopefully we will be able to, listen to you on your podcast, because this would be a pretty awesome subject to be talking about over, and not just in my little 20-minute segment, but weekly or monthly or something with you.
There's so
I would
much
be
there.
fascinated.
Oh,
exactly. All your most people, like I said before, my lunch break, it's like Pinterest, RV stuff, how to decorate the outside of my, and you're Googling and researching assassinations. Like,
I don't know what got into me, but that's just the way I'm built. I'm super
love it.
curious.
And so since Lisa has written this book, she has retired. She has moved to South Carolina from California. How is your retirement going?
I love it. And of course, you helped me move. She was my real estate agent. Oh, so such a blessing. I love it so far. I love my home. I can't believe how many neighbors I've met. They're all so friendly.
Yeah.
I went to the beach yesterday, as we all probably did, because it was the first sunny day in like 3 months.
I know. I was out in the country yesterday, and it was 73 degrees out there.
fantastic.
Sprung. It's March in South Carolina, and we hit the 70s. It's gorgeous.
Yes, but it was so funny because we have an ocean club as part of our development, and so I went to our parking lot, went to the beach there, and that's where I met new neighbors who live like 4 doors down.
Oh my God.
Because we all go to the same place.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I love it. And welcome to South Carolina.
Thank you
We
so
made
much.
the move 4 years ago, and it was my husband's dream, and he's been so happy living in the Myrtle Beach area. Well, Myrtle Beach, funny, you say Myrtle Beach, and it's not technically Myrtle Beach.
Right.
There's Conway, Little River, Longs, Loris, Anor, Gallivan, Sperry. It's 60 miles of Grand Strand plus inward a little bit. But we still classify it as moving to Myrtle. But it's so nice. I'm so glad that you were able to come on. So, guys, if you want to get this book, it's called A Lie Too Big to Fail by Lisa Pease. It is available at brick and mortars. It's available on Amazon.com, probably BarnesandNobles.com, and all those great places where you can find a book. And Lisa, if somebody wants to talk to you personally, how can somebody get in contact with you?
I'd say the best way is to find me on X at Lisa Pease,
Nice.
You can direct message me there and we can chat. I don't friend people on Facebook that I don't know well in person.
Yeah.
So don't try that. But
Do you have an email?
I
or
have an
something?
email. I'm not sure I want to give it out for all the
Okay.
spammers out there.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not hard to find, and a lot of people know how to get to me. So
Okay,
if you
so-
can find anyone in the research community, they'll know how to get.
So finding Lisa Pease on X, and Lisa's name is spelled Lisa Pease. I wanted to read it, so I have it correctly again. A Lie Too Big to Fail. Calling all first responders, healthcare professionals, and military personnel. Are you ready to take the next steps in your home buying or selling journey? My name is Alysia Stern. I'm a licensed realtor in New York, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida, and the founder of the Heroes Agents. You have made tremendous sacrifices for all of us, and it is our honor to assist you in your real estate journey. To express our gratitude, we offer hero rebates and customized services tailored to fit your unique needs. Our commitment is to help you find your perfect home or enhance the value of your current property. We are also dedicated to supporting you in securing financial resources and smoothly navigating the mortgage process, guiding you every step of the way. To date, we have proudly given back over $50,000 to heroes like you as a way to say thank you. The Heroes Agents are here to serve you and make the process as easy and stress-free as possible while giving back with no strings attached. Reach out to us today at 833-TOP-HERO That's 833 Top Hero, or visit theheroesagents.com.